man, what's going on with Tucker Carlson? Is he coming back?
So if you're wondering why our country seems so dysfunctional, this is a big part of the reason. Nobody knows what's happening. A small group of people control access to all relevant information, and the rest of us don't know. We're allowed to yap all we want about racism, but go ahead and talk about something that really matters and see what happens. If you keep it up, they'll make you be quiet. Trust us. That's how they maintain control. When Western tourists first started traveling in large numbers to the Soviet Union in the early 1970s, they found that many Russians had a completely warped understanding of the United States. They thought that Americans lived in grinding poverty, in a state of perpetual race war, and were desperate to flee to the freedom and prosperity of the Eastern Bloc. They thought this because that's what they had been told. They had no way to know otherwise. The few Russians who understood what was really going on in the rest of the world had learned about it from listening to shortwave radio broadcasts, sometimes under the covers so the neighbors wouldn't hear. 50 years later, it is bewildering to consider the ironies here. We're the ones who live in ignorance now. The U.S. government has managed to classify more than 1 billion so-called public documents. So at this point, we can't possibly know what our leaders are doing. We're not allowed to know. By definition, that is not a democracy. Yet it's fine with the media. Secrecy is a powerful tool of control. Stop asking how we got so rich. Here's another story about racism. Go eat each other. That's the program. That's how most of us now live here in the United States. Manipulated by lies, silenced by taboos. It is unhealthy and it's dehumanizing, and we're tired of it.
So, on this, Royce, I'll go advantage Royce White. Royce, you say that very simply. We're too busy jerking off to care about what's really going on. That's what Tucker just said. He said it in a more complex way. You say it very simply. I found that aspect of, and he just put out a 10.5-minute video, but that whole aspect about, because he ended it by saying that what he wants to do with Tucker on Twitter, he wants to be that shortwave radio. And Twitter wants to kind of be that shortwave radio where we're actually allowed to talk about things that we're not supposed to talk about. I think you, maybe not citing this directly, but maybe inspired by this directly, I think in the last 24 hours, you've had a tweet about like, hey man, they got to put Alex Jones back on this platform in order for me to believe it's a free speech platform. And if Alex Jones does belong on Twitter, he's been proven that he's not some whack job that's a liar. Yeah, he was wrong about Sandy Hook, but there's so much stuff he's been right about. And if we're going to have a full, robust, transparent, free speech conversation, he has to be allowed back on. Tucker added a caveat last night that, like, as long as he believes that Twitter is free speech and not going to censor him, he'll stay there. If he finds out otherwise, he's going to leave. What do you predict? Will Twitter be this shortwave radio where we're really allowed to explore the truth on that platform? Will the system allow that?
Tough to say. I think Tucker's playing it smart. I mean, he's not closing the door to the reality, to the possibility that Twitter becomes tyrannical again. And I did say on Twitter the other day, I'm a free speech absolutist, right? Call me a nigger. Fine. That's fine. My emotions, my connection, my feelings towards the word do not supersede my understanding of free speech as a constitutional necessity, as a fundamental pillar of American citizenship. Call me a nigger. Fine. Now, some people out there of a darker complexion would go, oh, you're only half black anyway, so the word wouldn't mean as much to you. Those people are jerk-offs. Good example. But what I'm saying is, yes, Alex Jones, I don't believe that Elon Musk is who he says he is, as long as people like Alex Jones, who by all metrics really paved the way for Elon Musk to even say the things he's saying and doing now. If he doesn't let Alex Jones back on, how can we believe that he is who he says he is? And that's not to say that I'm not open to Elon being a force for good, because I am. I'm open to everybody being a force for good in some respect. I don't preclude miracles because I believe in God and I believe in the Bible. There are many people who became forces for good, who had big problems, who sinned, so on and so forth. So it's not beyond the God I love and serve to use all kinds of people. All I'm saying is when it comes to his stance on free speech, there's a gaping hole when Alex Jones is left out there in the void, in my opinion.
TJ, what do you think of Tucker's deal last night?
So there, nitpicking here, but there is a Taylor Lorenz, the Washington Post. She came out and basically said Tucker's obviously outside of his realm here. There's no jump cuts. It sort of went into the idea that the digital world is different. You can't just roll it out there on network TV. Now, she looks foolish because he got 70+ million views, but it did kind of look low budget. And I'm wondering if that's intentional. Like, what's his strategy? What's he trying to prove? What is he doing? That wasn't a show. That was a 10-minute monologue. That's like the equivalent of us putting out a clip. And so there's more to it. Tucker thinks all this stuff through. It was a month or so.
Oh, for one, let me push back a tiny bit. Maybe he's trying to prove that the expression of original thought and ideas and information is all you need. But maybe he's basically being Virgil Walker and saying, I ain't got to be Mike Todd. Mm-hmm. I don't have to, and it's like, it almost like, you know what, God should have put the Bible out on video with all these extra displays. And the guy was like, no, the word is powerful enough. Maybe that's what Tucker's saying, that the word is powerful enough.
And that may be true, and that's part of what I'm saying here is that even his lighting wasn't good. Half of his face had a shadow on it, like it was low budget. Was that intentional? What's he trying to do? He was non-committal at the end, as you pointed out in the meeting this morning. He didn't say we'll see you tomorrow night. He basically said, I might see you later. We'll see how this goes on Twitter. I don't know. And so what is he doing exactly? It's possible that's the point he's making. I think there was more to it than just putting out a 10-minute monologue on stuff that he's largely talked about over his time. It wasn't anything groundbreaking yesterday. It was a good video, and it's stuff that got attention, but it did 70 million views not because it was a viral video of some untapped, uncharted territory we'd never heard of. It's because it was Tucker Carlson reappearing, and what's he trying to get at here?
Royce, did you have any of those? I mean, you do a podcast now. You've positioned yourself in a way on your podcast, the whole Morpheus type setup. Did you have any of those types of concerns?
About Tucker's appearance, of Tucker's video?
Yeah.
Well, I thought the audio sounded a little shoddy just for it to be Tucker. But, I mean, and you and I, we all know there's a significant difference between the production value of the production equipment that goes into a Fox News studio and what you can do, sort of run and gun independent. And that there's just a stark difference on so many levels. Compatibility of equipment, it's just so many levels. I think we have to realize that a lot of let's not get caught up in the 70 million view number. Tucker had the highest rated cable network television show because he's good. He's very good. I mean, he's talented. He's as talented as it gets. You can't deny that. He's funny in the whole nine. He's got the whole package. But a lot of the interest around Tucker right now is that there are people who always believed that the mainstream media was corrupt, and they're waiting on Tucker to tell them how. They're waiting on Tucker to whistleblow insider baseball stuff within Fox News that he's probably not even able to talk about yet. I don't know contracts and NDAs and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that Tucker's probably bound and constrained by. But I know myself personally, I'm waiting to hear what Tucker's going to tell us about Fox and Dominion. I'm waiting for Tucker to tell us why and where he was told to stay silent. I know, but because everything he's talking about now is the same stuff he was talking about on Fox. It's not like he's saying anything different, like TJ said, and it's not a knock on Tucker. All I'm saying is a lot of the momentum and a lot of the attention around Tucker right now is everybody on the edge of their seat waiting to understand the full depth of how corrupt Fox is and how they play as a chip in this new world order scam. He's saying it without naming names is what I'm saying. He's saying it without saying it. We want him to say it. Say it. Say the names. Tell us, who was it? Who made the calls? Was it Rupert Murdoch? Who was it?
He may not be able to meet expectations there, not just because of NDAs and contracts. It's because of the way that he works in terms of isolated. Has a studio in, I think, Massachusetts or Maine, has a studio in Florida that I've been to, and he didn't engage with the Suzanne Scotts and some of the top executives at Fox. Did have some dealings, I think, with Lachlan Murdoch and Rupert or whatever, but it wasn't a day-to-day thing because he lives in his own little silo, in his own little world, and so it would be no different than someone saying, man, I can't wait for Whitlock to tell me everything that goes on at the Blaze. Well, I live in Nashville. The Blaze's offices in Dallas. I don't know. I know... And this is said with no, because, I talk to Tyler and Gaston regularly, but I don't climb up in all their business. I talk about my business. And so I don't, if they have a question about something that's going on with other parts of the Blaze, I may answer it, but I'm not, hey man, tell me the guys. I mean, some things I read about on Twitter. I'm like, man, that happened 3 days ago or 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know. So I do think there's some of that where he may not meet people's expectations. For me, it's funny that video aired last night because I can tell you, not making it up, but earlier in the day I was like, man, what's going on with Tucker Carlson? Is he coming back? Is he going to, and I thought about texting him and asking, but it's like, I'm going to stay out of this man's business. I give the man some price. He'll reach out to me when he needs me or when I can help or whatever. Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.